You are listening to The World As I See It podcast. 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 Well, hello everyone. My name is Addison, and welcome to the very first episode of my podcast, The World As I See It. I am a blind teen navigating life in this sighted world, and this podcast is where I share my perspective. And just to give you a little bit of background, I was born really early, and I had a condition called retinopathy of prematurity, and it caused my retinas to detach, which means I don't see anything, not even light. So before we dive in, if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me at theworldasiseeitpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear your questions. This space is really, just for me, sharing my life and how I experience the world as someone who's blind. And a lot of people think being blind is living in total darkness. But honestly, for me, it's more like I just don't see. And I don't see anything. But I still feel the world. I still live in it. And I experience it fully, just in different ways. And that's why I called this podcast, The World As I See It. Because this is how I move through life. My daily routines, how I use technology, how I solve problems, and, how I stay independent, and what that all kind of looks like from my perspective and my point of view. But before we really get too far into this, I just want to take a moment and thank my family, especially my parents. They've supported me and they've been with me through everything, from getting me the tools I need to helping me advocate for myself, and just being there when I need them and when life gets hard. And I honestly couldn't do this without them. And it's not just my family, the teachers, friends, and the community around me. They've all played a part in helping me do what I love and do what I'm passionate about, just like this podcast. So if you're somebody I mentioned, thank you. And I know that I'm really lucky to have the kind of support system that I have, because not everyone gets that. And I want to talk more about that in a future episode, because I honestly think that it matters. And I hope that if you're sighted, this podcast gives you a new perspective or a different perspective that you may not have thought about. So, in future episodes, I want to answer your questions. I want to know what you want to know. And I would tell you the details about how I navigate the world. But honestly, I really want to know what y'all are curious about. And what have you always wondered about being blind? And maybe you're just too afraid to ask. Well, this podcast is your space to ask those questions. And I'll be picking listener questions for future episodes. So if there's something that's been in your brain and on your mind, don't hesitate to ask those questions. And we'll dive into all kinds of topics, such as, independence, challenges I face, relationships, and even the funny and sometimes awkward moments that come with being not able to see. And that's what this podcast is truly about, giving you a real look at what life is like for me without vision. And honestly, based on a lot of people think that it's a sad story. And it's truly not. And it's my story. Yeah, there are tough parts of it, but there's also joy, growth, and plenty of good things that don't depend on sight at all. So if that sounds like something you want to explore and be a part of with me, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. And if you're curious, please send your questions. I want to make this a space for real, deep, and meaningful conversations. All right, everyone, that's it for now. Thanks so much for being here with me. If you really like to get in touch, send me an email at theworldasiseeitpodcast@gmail.com. I am so excited and can't wait to hear what you're curious about. This is just the beginning. Really looking forward to where this podcast goes from here. You've been listening to the World as I See It podcast.